We have a home for sale right now for $899. It's 2,500 square feet. $899
I
in the
said,
city of Barrie, in a good school area.
Yeah.
That should not be still on the market.
you've been saying it. I agree that 2025 is the year of the variable
It
adjustment
is.
rate.
Say the rates drop just below 4%.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to go any lower. So say that happens. What are we going to see?
Okay, here's what
We're
I
going to see
think.
higher home prices?
This is what I think. 2025.
Here we are, Nikki.
Here we are.
Happy New Year.
So Happy New Year. For the last 3 years, a lot of real estate investors have been saying, hold on until 2025.
Yeah.
Just hold on until 2025. And the wick was this long, and then it was this long, and now we're here. But what's really interesting is we're not really here.
No. Have you watched that movie Groundhog Day?
Yeah.
We're in it.
We're
We're in it to win it, man.
There's a few changes, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, we're now seeing fixed interest rates in the low 4s.
Yeah.
Before Christmas, high 3s. It was a big secret. Some banks would give discretion. You know, you've worked with us before. We like your file, whatever that was. Here's your 3.99. We had 2. Here's your 3.89. Lowest rate since January of 2022. It's great, right? It's like 3 years. However, things have spiked again. Rates have come back up again. Are we riding the same roller coaster? I don't know.
Well, we do know, actually.
Yeah.
We do know.
Yeah.
We do know that our bond market is attached to the fixed rate. So when we watch our bond market, it's attached to what's going on in the U.S. So
Heavily.
if the U.S. has got great economy, guess what? Our fixed rates are staying where they are.
Yeah.
And they have stayed where they are. I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, you see a little bit of fluctuation up,
Mm-hmm.
very little down. I imagine this spring, the banks will be fighting for market share, which
will.
so then they'll be losing money on the mortgages they offer. So do
Yeah.
we get back to 399 maybe?
Well, here's the trickle down, right? Is you and I watch the bond market like crazy,
Yeah.
like hourly. I mean,
It's
I
our
have
barometer.
a
It's our barometer.
I'm worried that the bond market, like the website that I use, is going to start to burn a template into my
I
monitor
know.
because it doesn't move from that third monitor.
No.
It's just there all day. It goes up and down. You know, it's like watching the stock market. So there's that. And that dictates almost solely fixed rates.
Everything.
But as we were chatting about, banks have balance sheet money, their own money, the money that they've made, right? So what's interesting about that is, and money on deposit, I should say, right? So they can dictate rate on that stuff. So
They
like,
can.
as you say, if they want to buy market share, they're going to do it.
Yep.
So the trickle down effect is Red Bank saying, I want to, suiting with your sweater on today, I want to buy market share. They're going to price things very low. They're going to offer very attractive rates. Those people get confidence in their rate. They go and buy homes. If there's 2 banks that do that or 3 banks that do that, will we have sort of a false spring market? Is there enough confidence through those rates to drive us into a spring market?
That's our only hope, actually.
Totally.
Because the rest of it just isn't there. So if we're basing ourselves on the Bank of Canada, say they drop. Okay.
Yeah.
But that doesn't affect fixed
No.
rates. It only affects the variable.
That's right.
So our only hope is that the banks will get greedy and that they're going to want market share and they're going to take a tumble.
Which, spoiler alert, they're going to.
Yeah,
Right?
100%.
It's just how much that is going to affect that spring market.
And the funny thing is that,
Yeah.
you know, everybody thinks the spring market, because, I don't know, the birds are singing it. That isn't
Totally.
why.
Yeah.
It's because the banks are fighting for market share and we
Always.
get the lowest rates.
And it has every year.
That's what makes a market.
Yeah. Every year.
And especially in this market,
Yeah.
especially in what we've been through over the last few years, we have had very, very high rates.
Yeah.
And I know they don't sound high, but when you put them together with these home prices, it's unaffordable for people to live in.
Totally.
So if we're still only talking affordability because we know there's buyers out there, we 100% know there's buyers out
Yeah.
there. So, I mean, these buyers are just waiting for the rate in which they can qualify in. So if they do go any further down, and if the banks really do fight for market share, that will give us a spring market. But if they don't, we're not going to have one.
Totally
again.
agree. what's interesting as well is buyers are now sort of accustomed to not higher rates, not higher home prices, higher payments. It's interesting.
They are.
It's
They are
really
for
interesting.
sure. They are.
When we run these payments now, I'll say your monthly payment, starter home, like nice townhouse, minimum down payment with property taxes, $3,500 a month. And they'll go, yeah, okay, that's around what I thought. So now they're saying I could rent it for $2,800. I'm going to pay $3,500. That includes my taxes. I get some principal pay down. I get costs. I get ownership benefits. Right. Before it used to be $4,500, $4,800.
Yeah, and that's
made no sense.
No,
right.
Nobody can afford that.
But isn't it interesting that like consumer behavior is like, yeah, I know I'm going to pay more now.
We get used to it.
Took 3 years to get here.
I don't even know if it's part of being Canadian, but we suck it up.
Yeah. What the conversation that I'm sick of having, I refuse to have it anymore, is mortgage rates used to be 18%. This 6% is nothing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about why that's an irrelevant comment.
That's insane.
The house was $80,000
exactly.
then, right?
Like the problem is the prices and the rates cannot both be high.
Right.
Because what you will get is a stagnant market like we've had. And it's funny because, you listen to economists and they're like, don't worry, this is it. This is it. This is the end of it. And it's like, I feel like we're more in the middle of it now than we were last year.
Right. Exactly. So on the, I just want to show you on the 20% or the 18% rate comment.
Yep.
If the house was $100,000 and the interest rate was 20%, they paid $20,000 in interest. The same house is now arguably $600,000, and even if they paid 5%, it's still $10,000. It's 50% more. It's $30,000 versus $20,000. Like it's just not the same.
It's not.
It's not the same equation. It's not the same argument, right? So,
and regardless of what it feels like, regardless of any of that, people only have so much money. Like if you're making $5,000 a month, you can't pay that in rent. Like what about the rest of it?
Yeah.
You can't put that in a mortgage payment. You can't.
No.
You can't.
So 30-year amortization for first-time homebuyers.
Yes.
Interesting.
I think it's great.
So it's been in place for 5 weeks, 6 weeks.
And what's the
5
take?
weeks.
You would know better than anybody.
Yeah, I heard a CMHC stat that there was like almost $700 million in new applications. I can tell you firsthand, like on the micro level, every single first-time homebuyer application that we take right now, every single one is automatically 30 years.
Of course.
Here's one. Like one of your team members sends us a lead, as they always do. Thank you. And they said, please run the numbers for our mutual client. They referred them to us at 25 years. And I said, well, 30, they qualify for 30. Yeah, I got him up from 15 years to 25. He's a very conservative buyer. And I was like, hey, that's cool. I can appreciate that. No problem. Ran the numbers and immediately was like, can you run these at 32 just because like that's a little bit too expensive, right?
Yeah.
It's like it's a $300 per month reduction on $600,000. It's big. So we're running these numbers on this townhome, and it was like maybe it was $3,400 sort of thing for with property taxes. You run it with a 30-year amortization, boom, 29 something.
Yeah.
I can rent it for 28. I can own it for 29.
Yeah. Then the math works. The math works.
Exactly. So like it's only going to continue on this way. 30-year will be the new norm.
Well, and I think the worst part of this entire conversation is that the 30 years got such a bad rap.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, well, I don't want 30 years. I don't want an extra 5 tacked on. It's like, are you serious? What does that have to do with anything? Like whether you got an extra 5, I will walk into so many people's homes that I sold them 10 years ago. And, they're trying to ask for a lot more than what I'm suggesting. And so you start to drill down on the why. Well, guess what? They may have bought that home for $400, but they've got over $600 owing on it now, because in Canada, like it or not, we use our homes like ATMs.
Yeah. Draw money out.
You draw money out to buy a car. You draw money out for whatever.
You've been asking me for 3 years, when this renewal wave comes, what are people going to do when they renew? And the answer, has always been the same. They're going to consolidate. They're going to stretch out their amortization. They'll consolidate their credit cards, their cars. And I'm not saying it's the right thing to do. I'm just This is what happens.
This isn't about the right thing to do.
Whether I'm doing it or the banks are doing
survival.
it, everybody in the mortgage business is doing it. Everybody that owns a home is doing it to some degree.
And I think it's a matter of making it.
Yeah.
We're just trying to find a way to make it through these times until, something better comes along.
Totally. And even when rates were super low, Peggy, there was a ton of people, let's not kid ourselves, that took advantage of those low rates to make it easier.
Of course.
Right? So if you ask somebody, here's the two options. You're going to have to drag your amortization out from 20 years to 30 years. Okay. We're going to bury $60,000 of debt into your mortgage that you're going to pay off for the next however many years. Okay. But the result is that you can keep your kids in swimming lessons and buy groceries.
Right.
From not having to run around to 3 or 4 grocery stores looking for the sale at every store. Because I talk to those people every day.
100%.
They're going to choose to refinance, extend their amortization.
And live life.
100%. So that's how, again, we're going to get through these next couple of years. Like it or not. I mean, the comments are going to go crazy on that. Like it or not. I'm not telling you to do it. I'm telling you this is what happens.
The reality of living in Canada in 2025 is that we are very much still using our homes as ATMs.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is.
Like there's ways to do it. Like if you're fortunate enough to own rental properties, you refinance those first. The taxes, the interest is tax deductible.
For sure.
If you own an office building or like a storefront, like we do, for example, you could use that. That makes sense. If you own a business, that can make sense as well. If you are an employed person who owns one home and that's your primary residence and you have looming debt and your mortgage is up for renewal, we both know the answer.
You run out of options.
That's what's going to happen.
You run out of options.
Or you sell your home and buy something, but you have to be motivated to want something new. You're not just going to, like, I would hate the idea of somebody doing that just to like free up some equity and pay off some debt or whatever.
No, because
that's
the
awful,
amount
right?
of equity you eat up in making that move is a lot.
Well, that's why everybody loves you, Peggy, because you'll actually say that, right?
No,
like, that's great.
I don't agree with that. If there's another way to figure it out, figure it out. I don't agree with selling a home for the simple purpose that it feels tight.
Yeah.
Make sure you exhaust all the other options before you go to that route, because it's going to cost you your equity.
Totally.
And I hate seeing people use their equity if it doesn't make sense. If it makes sense, I'm all in.
Yeah. So let's talk about rates, where they're heading, what 2025 is going to look like.
All right, Nick, I have a question for you.
Yeah, tell me.
Okay, Nick.
Yes.
Spring market.
Get ready for it.
Banks are fighting for market share.
What are we going to see?
What are we going to see? Are we going to see higher prices? Say the rates drop just below 4%.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to go any lower. No. So say that happens. What are we going to see?
Okay, here's what I think.
See higher home prices?
This is what I think. January 2025, we're sitting here. We're very busy with new applications, inquiries, advice. I love this time of year. I always say to my team, if you are not prepared for the spring market by like January 28th, you're toast. Like, we have to nail down our relationships, our referral sources, the conversations, the people we're going to be working with, all of these things by like not quite the end of January. If you don't, the spring market's going to pass you. You won't even be ready for it. Any year, okay? Even if we're not going to have much of a spring market. January's not a lazy month for us. It's a pre-approval month for us, right?
So what's going to happen? The home prices.
So that's happening right now. That tells me that people are
guys. I think he's
hanging on. I think that interest rates will go back down to where they are, where they were like 6 weeks ago. Like, we're going to see some rates below 4%, high ratio, so less than 20% down, 3.99.
Okay.
The rest of the banks just above that, 4.09 sort of thing. It's good.
Yeah.
20% down. We were seeing 3-year fixed rates, 4.3 sort of thing. There's another like really important equation in there, which is variable rates, which we'll get to next. They're going to end up being around the same.
Still haven't answered my question. He's avoiding us, guys.
So I think what's going to happen, consumer confidence goes up in the spring. The snow melts. People buy homes.
Yep.
And they buy the no-brainer deals. They buy the pretty stuff. Pretty townhouses, as you say, pretty condos, like maybe not pretty.
Are the prices going up, Nick?
The prices will go up.
Okay.
Once the good deals and the pretty stuff sells, the prices will go up.
Okay.
People need to see that house sell before this house gets listed
Right.
on the same street. You know, when you drive down like the townhouse street and you see like sold for sale coming soon, you see the conveyor belt going, right? The conveyor belt hasn't started yet, in my opinion.
No.
I mean, like we talk about it all the time. There's 20, 30 houses that are no-brainer investments on the market right now that you and I and everybody else should buy.
Duplexes, like you name it.
There's a fourplex on the market, like renovated fourplex on the market at like $899.
Yeah.
Like
It's crazy.
That's crazy.
4 doors.
Yeah. So and it's nice. It's all renovated. It has all the colors you'd want to see. So I don't know. What are the rents like on that place? 2, 4, 6, 8, probably $7,000 a month. Like that's a good deal.
It is in a different market.
Yeah.
When investors aren't like
paranoid.
done.
Yeah. Done.
No.
So I think we're gonna see. Are we gonna see higher home prices in the spring? No.
Oh, you said yes.
I think we'll see homes sell in the spring.
Yes.
And then we'll see prices increase following that.
Okay.
So I'll change my answer.
Oh.
Yeah. I think we'll see pretty stuff sell, no-brainer stuff sell. Like, I mean, I was talking to a client yesterday who's looking at buying a townhouse in Aurelia for $630,000. I go into realtor.ca, I select townhome, I draw out the map. Guess what? You can buy a townhouse in Barrie and Aurelia for the same friggin' price
100%.
right now. Isn't that wild?
It is, but again, it's supply and demand. Aurelia has not had the supply, so that's what you get when you get demand. But
I mean, that's your realtor brain working. Like you have a lot of knowledge up there of supply, demand, months of inventory. For the everyday person, even me doing this, I draw out the map and I go, why the hell can I buy a townhouse?
Yeah. And why would you? Because not that there's anything wrong with Aurelia. I love Aurelia.
No. But
everything when you're investing in real estate should depend on how fast can I get to Toronto. That's
just going to say
all that matters.
It should go Innisfil, Barrie, Aurelia. Expensive, less expensive, less expensive. Yeah. Why on earth can I buy a home in Barrie for the same price as Aurelia right now?
Because, I mean, Aurelia is a going concern. It's a great place to live. People know that now.
Yeah.
But we just haven't had the inventory there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tell you what I think.
Yeah, tell me what you think, okay?
All right.
Yeah. Peggy, what do you think is going to happen with home prices in the spring?
Well, let me tell you, Nick.
Yeah.
So
the optimist you are.
So the one thing that I know that you don't know, obviously, because we're in different businesses. So you have a lot of first-time buyers wanting to get qualified,
totally.
Blah, blah, blah.
Totally.
We have never, in a January, and it's pretty normal in January, people call, what's my house worth? That's pretty
I can't wait to hear this. Okay.
We've never had more people calling to see what their house is worth. Because the one thing that a lot of people don't take into consideration is the demand of sellers that are sitting there waiting for this market to heat up again.
Hey, I'm one of them.
When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen?
What did I say to you when I walked in here?
I know.
When am I going to be able to sell my rental properties,
But
Peggy?
honest to God, they're getting sick of waiting, Nick.
Yeah.
People don't want to hang on anymore. So this entire thing in the spring, if we get good interest rates, will depend. Now, when a seller sees that townhome sold, be like, okay, here's my chance to get out.
Yeah.
So depending on how many motivated sellers we get in the spring, when they see that things start to move, if we get a flood of real estate on the market, you're not going to see higher prices, Nick. You're not.
Yeah.
And so that's our problem right now. We don't know how this is going to play out.
Tell me if you think I'm wrong here. I don't know if people necessarily need higher prices to get confidence. I think they need to see sold signs.
Sold signs. That's all we're missing. We're missing sold signs because we've listed, I mean, we have a home for sale right now for $899. It's 2,500 square feet. $899.
I said
in the city of Barrie, in a good school area.
Yeah.
That should not be still on the market.
No.
But it is.
When I go through the sold stuff for the week, I'm amazed. Like two-story, 2-car garage anywhere in Barrie with a 7 in front of it.
Yeah.
Unheard
with a double
of
car garage.
Unheard of 2 years ago.
I know.
3 years ago.
I know.
I mean, the townhouse stuff got crazy.
It did.
The semi-detached stuff got crazy. You remember, like, off of Edge Hill, I forget that street in there, but like something sold close to $1 million over there.
Yeah, it was on Pringle.
Or Bird. One of those.
Was it on Bird?
Maybe.
It was
one of those. You posted about it.
Oh, I did, because I was freaked out, because I was like, welcome to Milton.
I remember your post, and
Yeah.
then I remember everyone like, oh my gosh, and
Yeah.
then
But I mean, it was done up nice.
it's totally. I
Not
think it had a
taking that away.
pool.
It had a pool, an
Yeah,
in-ground pool in the townhome.
yeah,
So I mean,
yeah,
you can understand why in the height of things,
yeah.
people sold for
Sold.
that.
Yeah,
I get it.
coulda, woulda, shoulda, too,
Yeah,
right?
but
So I think, like, we can agree on this. I think for once.
what are we agreeing on?
Okay, the pretty and make sense stuff.
Yeah.
Sells.
Yeah.
But before we see price increases, we need to see a full sell through of the current inventory, basically.
We absolutely do.
Because what happens in those hot markets is really interesting. The pretty stuff sells, the no-brainer stuff sells. Then the other stuff starts selling, and then something interesting happens. The pretty and no-brainer stuff sells in the peripheral communities. Aurelia, Midland, Tiny, Tay. Angus is his own market, but that sort of thing.
Absolutely.
And then the no-brainer stuff and the pretty stuff is gone in those peripheral communities. And the people that were settling for stuff in Barrie go out to the peripheral communities and start buying the not so pretty stuff.
Because again, it's all about affordability.
Yeah.
If I can live in a not gorgeous home,
Yeah.
but I can afford to live there, I'm going to buy it, and
Totally.
I'm going to make it whatever I want it to be.
Yeah. Same thing goes for pretty. Like, the pretty stuff sells in Barrie. They can't get pretty. There's a lot of people I talk to in this market that do not want elbow grease. They do not want to fix her up. There's no money left for it.
Where did that come from?
There's no money left for it.
And that's what it has to be, that, because it used to be that, especially with all the renovating shows, people loved doing rentals. Like
Totally.
they loved that
Yeah.
stuff, and not anymore.
Not anymore.
Because when somebody takes a mortgage on now, they are strapped.
I talk to people so often now who built a brand new home. You actually have a couple of really nice new builds, like the one out in Moonstone and all that sort of thing. And when that home gets to like 8 or 9 years old, they don't even want to paint the walls.
No.
They want a new house. You know what I mean?
Yep.
The cost of maintenance, renovations, construction, and everything else.
People are strapped, and the problem is those home lines of equity used to be cheap when rates were at 2% and 3%. Why wouldn't you take some money out of your home line of equity and fix up your home? Anybody did it. Buy a car, do whatever. But now that's a decision that requires a lot. It's not so bad this second, because we have had a lot of drops, and we're seeing more.
Yeah.
So it's not as bad, but it's not back yet.
We're getting more inquiries about home equity lines of credit.
For sure. And you will. And
because they're cheaper now.
I think the variable rate is going to be all the rage.
Let's talk about that. Let's close with that, okay?
I think the variable rate is the cat's behind.
You have been saying that for 6 months. Nobody listened to anybody who was suggesting them for the last 6 months, because the people that had them are jaded. The people that had them have told their friends and their family. It's all in the news. People are scared of them.
Of course.
So now when we run the numbers, you know what we do? Hey, Peggy, here's the numbers for the home that you'd like to buy. In terms of rates, we can secure a 3-year fixed rate. Let's say you have 20% down. I got one back yesterday, 4.44%. Okay. 5 years lower, I can get you 4.24%. Okay. So 4.44, 4.24. Great. The 5-year variable, I can get you prime minus 0.7. Okay. Lands you in the high 4s. And then you know what I say? If we get another decrease at the end of January, and if we get another decrease at the end of February, and if we get, not February, March, and so on and so forth. So I sort of like play with it and like price in these decreases and say, if we get this, you're already at that. And if there's more, then you're ahead. That's what people are looking for right now.
That's the reality of the banking industry right now. We know we're going to get more rate cuts. And when we do, they're not going to affect your 5-year fixed.
No.
What they're going to affect is the variables.
You wait. You've been saying it. I agree that 2025 is the year of the variable adjustable rate.
But what people miss is that it's not a train. You don't get off on one stop and get back on the next stop. You got to ride that train the entire way to get the benefit of it.
People that have variable and adjustable rates right now that have seen all the increases, they are celebrating right now.
They are.
They are.
They were bitter for a long time.
Totally. Yeah.